It's really important to pay attention and take note to what your best customers were telling you. This is why. You will use this information to create messaging that will attract more of those ideal customers. Hey there, you're listening to the Priority Pursuit Podcast, a podcast dedicated to helping small business owners define, maintain, and pursue both their personal and business priorities so they can build lives and businesses they love. I'm your host, Kelly Rice, and today I'm excited to have Twila Ortiz of Flying High Tea on the show for our another round of a small business marketing consultation. So Twila, welcome to the show. I'm so happy that you reached out, and I am thrilled to get to chat with you about keeping the momentum going after the newness of a business wears off. So before we kind of dive into all of the marketingness, would you just kind of introduce yourself and tell our listeners a little bit about your business and how you came to be?
So I used to work at Purdue. Perhaps you've heard of it in relationship to some sports. I don't know.
That's not something that in this moment in March Madness in 2023 that
I know
we're
it is
talking
March
about.
Madness, anger time. Just saying, whatever.
Yes.
No. So I came to Purdue, I came to Lafayette in 2006. Purdue is what brought me here. And then I ended up in a job there, and I worked in several different positions on campus. My job didn't make it out of pandemic. In the meantime, I was lucky enough to have a partner who was super supportive, and he gave me the brain space to be able to think about what I wanted to be when I grew up. Still don't know. But I did get to make some glorious Venn diagrams of what do I know, like, how can that be useful, and what does Lafayette need?
What overlaps together?
And that center point for me was tea. I'm not a coffee drinker. Ironically, my maiden name is Coffee.
No,
it is
not.
It totally is.
That is amazing. Yeah.
Never picked it up. Tea was what my family drank. So that was what I drank. And in my travels around the world, I lived in France for a while, and I've been to several other places in Western Europe, and always went to tea shops. So I kind of had the opportunity to bring a bit of that thing I loved back to the place I live, and build this fantastic tea shop with my fantastic now husband. Because in the midst of all of this, we thought, hey, why not also get married? Because I'm not busy enough. So that worked out. So far, so good. So we did our due diligence for a good year and put together our business plan, did all of that. Definitely didn't know what I didn't know, but found out along the way. Still finding things out.
Mm-hmm. Welcome to being a small business owner, right? We make it up as we go.
That is very true. And we learn from others, which is also critical.
Yes.
Anyway, so we ended up in this space that we absolutely adore. It's gloriously beautiful. It was bigger than we originally intended, so we also did a little pivoting. So my thought was, hey, tea shop, because we want to have lots of different flavors of tea. It rotates, helping people understand more about tea. I have this wonderful space where I have a tea bar, so you can have all the tea drinks in the world. And in this giant space, you're like, oh, what else do we like? Because we have lots of space. I like eating, and I really like breakfast. And downtown doesn't really have a lot of breakfast places. So we also put in a brunch restaurant. And again, the space is extra huge and enormous, and we're finishing an event space. So down the road, we'll also be doing events like fun tea education classes, and I'm partnering with a cookie baker in town to do cookie decorating, and an artist down the street wants to do some painting teacups, which I can't think of a better partnership.
All kinds of things in the works. So when did you actually open your business?
Until about 2 days ago, I didn't know the answer to that question. I'm kind of embarrassed because it was been such a whirlwind. But I did go back and look. February 21st, actually. So it's been almost 1 month. Exactly.
It feels longer than that.
No idea.
Wow.
Yeah, it really does.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome. Because, we're actually the part of the community that you're in. So we absolutely love this. And we actually got to meet you because my team went down, I think on a Monday or whatever, and they got to experience your tea room and all of these things. And they still haven't stopped talking about it. So I'm really excited that you're on the show today and we get to answer the question that I know a lot of other small business owners have, especially when they're just starting out, of like, how do you keep that momentum going after that initial excitement of my business just opened, and you don't want it to wear off, but you have no history of how long this is going to go on and what should I expect and all that. And it's literally a common challenge that every entrepreneur really faces. And it's really because we have an idea of what we think or we want to happen during that launch phase. But in reality, we're literally just keeping our fingers crossed and hoping that it goes well. So can you relate to that one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a different kind of tired that I think you experience when you open a business.
Yeah. There's a new parent tired and there's a small business owner tired.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. That's a good way. That's a good way to explain it. So, and then when we notice that when businesses do get a great jump start within the community and they start doing all of these great things, kind of like yours did, you are both excited and freaked out at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
Right? But this freak out usually lands, like it separates the, I don't know what I'm doing people from really the great leaders. And the great leaders then start thinking about, okay, what happens when this excitement and newness wears off? Like, what do I need to do to keep this going? Because you know that there'll be a day that you won't be new anymore. You won't be the shiny new object, and people will only then come because they want to, not because it's just this new and shiny thing, right? So that's kind of what we're going to talk about today. So the good news is, though, that there are 3 things that you can do to ensure that you continue to serve your customers really well, because I know that's one of the things that you're really passionate about and that we've also experienced, but also to attract customers and then grow your business. So we're going to talk about 3 of those, which is 1, to build and maintain strong relationships with your customers. 2, continuously look for ways to improve your products and your services and your customer experience, which being a new business, that's a constant in your mind, I know. And then 3, using the flywheel approach to marketing. So if you don't really have any questions right away, I'm just going to jump into the details and we can kind of go through there. Does that work for you? Okay. And remember, this is a conversation. So if you have questions, stop and ask, because if you do, I'm sure our listeners do as well. So, okay, based on the experience that my Tree Frog team had in your team room, you already know that it's important to provide excellent customer service because it's what keeps people coming back, right? People want to feel important. And by making sure that every interaction with your customer is friendly and helpful and professional, you'll get them to want to do that. And because Flying High Tea is a new experience for just about anyone in the community, you already go the extra mile to ensure that your customers understand what they need to do when they come in, and ensure that they're satisfied with their experience, because this is as much as you planned, it's still a learning curve for you as well as us patrons that have never had an experience like this before. And I'm sure by now you're starting to see some regular people come in and you naturally address them by name because you remember them, or you may remember what they like to eat or what they like to drink. And all of these are great ways to build loyalty through just the natural interactions. But you also need to take time to ask and then listen to why people come into your business. Do they like the atmosphere, the quality of the food, the variety of the tea, the uniqueness, the location, the friendliness? All of those things are important because you want to learn what they're excited about and ask them what makes them come back or come in for the first time. And you can do this through simply asking them. You could have a short survey linked to like a QR code that's on each table or up at the tea bar. As you can have it as part of maybe when they sign up for your rewards program as well. There are literally so many ways that you can ask your customers for their feedback. And I know that potentially just in who you are in your interactions, you're asking these things or you're paying attention, but do you intentionally ask for feedback yet? No? Okay. And that's okay. It's been like 40 days that you've been open. It's all good. But it will also be extremely important to take note when you do start doing this of what they're really saying to you. You want to look for this common theme because you can use this information to improve your offerings and to develop clear and concise marketing messages later on that will attract more people like the people that you want to come in on a regular basis because you already have an idea of who fits well, what they want to do, all of those types of things, and you want to be able to attract more of those. So basically my recommendation for this is to keep doing what you're doing from a personal level. Being a small business owner, you are the face of your business, and especially in a smaller community, people want to know about you. And then naturally you want to know about them and their family and their kids and all of these types of things. And then we just all become this big community of friends. So keep doing that. And then also remember when you're asking for that feedback, make it a point to really understand why your customers are coming in and why they're showing up and why they come back. And especially that 100 people, like if you want 15 more of, Mr. Smith coming in, what is it about Mr. Smith that makes him want to come in? Ask those questions because we want to know why people choose Flying High Tea. And again, we'll get to the third question the third portion that we'll talk about, and you're going to be able to use this information to help better their marketing experience and their customer experience. So do you have any questions about point number 1 before we move to point number 2?
Based on your experience working with maybe other, I don't know if there's anything like this that you have worked with or do work with, are there ways that have been better than others, whether it's I like the idea of putting, something simple on a QR code at the table or, just having little things, smattered about that they can, quick get on the phone, do a quick survey that doesn't take too long.
Right. I'm saying like 3 questions or even just 1 question. Tell us what brought you in today, or explain what drew you to our business, or if they've coming back. I mean, we can help you kind of figure out some of these things, especially after the episode, but that's kind of what you want people to do. You want them to be able to take that time to do that, and if they'd had a great experience, they're going to do that. The idea of having something on the tables or on the bar that's easy to do, that works. It could even be when, I think you have a selfie wall, is that right? So doing that, and then when they hashtag it, ask them to hashtag like their favorite thing about your business or something like that. And then when you start doing email marketing or you utilize your rewards to start sending things out to people, you can send out links to them that ask them 1 or 2 questions about their experience. Maybe after a visit that they've had, you can send them, a quick question to say, hey, tell me why you decided to come to Flying High Tea today. Those types of things, just in a natural conversation way, will help gather a lot of that information that you're looking for.
It did. I don't know, this feels like in many times down here in the downtown area, I think one of the things that I love is the ability to build relationships with people. I actually know my mailman's name, which is so charming. Is this something that, you can, be successful people, not successful, but have people having success, having a person pulling people aside and saying, hey, can I ask you some questions? Is that appropriate?
And I think that normally happens, like, do you have servers?
Yes.
Okay, so just that natural question that a server can ask, and then they have a place to be able to enter that in, right? Because your servers are building relationships with their customers as well. So it's really easy to say, hey, Mrs. Smith, what brought you in today? What has been your favorite experience so far? Or what has been your favorite today about the experience that you've had? Just those general questions. And then even the servers that can come and jot those down, or if you have an iPad that you can just keep a running document in, or you can use your point of sale system, something like that, figuring out those processes, that would be a great way to do that. And then you also, as the owner, just walking around, right? Like we've been to restaurants where the manager walks around and says, oh, how was your meal today? And all of that stuff. But you have a different vibe about you. So you would be able to pull that information out of people a lot easier just by your natural conversation with them. So that's what I would suggest, as opposed to let's just pull them aside and have a chat with them. Let's just make it part of our natural conversation, along with the other processes that don't require that, like maybe sending out an email after their point of sale happens or a QR code on the table, something like that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. So jumping into point number 2, which is to continuously look for ways to improve your product, services, and your customer experience. So the first 12 months of operating a small business is normally the period of significant change and growth, right? And you've already talked about that, how you had to pivot before you even opened. And that's just going to constantly be something that you have to do. And so the second thing that you have to pay attention to is looking for ways to always improve your products and your customer service and your services, right? Like you're already considering adding in an event space. But what does that look like? Are you going to have live music? Are you going to offer weddings? Are you going to offer private dining? Like starting to think about that. But those are also questions you can start asking your clients that come in or your customers that come in all of the time. Hey, we're thinking about doing live music of an evening. Would you guys think that you would come back for something like that? Being able to do some of that ad hoc surveying as well to look at that. So it is also important to remember that in the early stages of a small business, it's common to have to make adjustments to your original business model, which we just talked about, and then also ensuring that it's profitable and sustainable. Because if you have to be the face of everything and you have to be in your shop for 100 hours a week, that's not sustainable. So being able to pay attention to those, but we also understand as business owners that maybe if we're not there, then the customer experience might diminish a little bit. So it's constantly looking at those things over the first year of business to make sure that you're meeting your customers' expectations and the demands, and you're there for your staff and you're doing all of that. And this could also involve some pricing strategy changes, which terrify most business owners, but it shouldn't, because we go in and we're like, this is what the market says that can happen, and this is what we think can happen. But then you may add experiences to the things that you offer, and that may adjust the price and all that. So just keep an open mind about those types of things. And then also try to identify any new revenue streams. Again, we talked about events. Are there ways to package the things that you do, or have private dining like we talked about, or potentially even pivoting your business messages away from what you thought your ideal customers would want to hear to what they're telling you that they want to hear that would drive them to come in. And that goes, again, back to understanding and listening to their feedback. So just know the task of asking your customers for your customers' feedback and listening to them should never, ever stop. That's what makes you a great business that really cares about their customers. Because they actually may come up with ideas or packages or combos or sales or promotions that you may not have thought of because you're too close to the business, and they'll have fresh eyes to evaluate your offerings and opportunities. And most are very willing to give their 2 cents. And especially if they don't like something, I'm sure they'll be able to tell you that as well, right? But the reason that we can't do this as business owners is because we're the ones. Our customers are ones that are experiencing our brand for the first time without any preconceived notions, other than maybe they've heard about it, a friend told them, or they saw the sign driving by or something like that. So they'll give you a much more true snapshot of what your customer experience is, as opposed to us trying to define it as owners, because we already know what we think the experience should be. So, our views are already tainted. So we also have to be very open-minded. And if we're seeing a constant theme of something that may not be what we thought it should be, we have to address it and just not always think that those customers are just too needy or, does that make sense? Yeah. Yeah. And then we also need to pay attention to what products and services are your best sellers, and then be able to constantly share that with your customers that are coming, whether in the store or on the website, because when you do everything that you can to ensure that your customers are happy and well taken care of, like telling them how to have an exceptional experience inside your store, your business, they will tell other people about that great experience, which drives more word of mouth traffic, and that's free marketing, and that's what we want. So I know that although these last couple things haven't been like direct marketing tactical advice, but do you see kind of how building an exceptional customer experience and adding stability into your business is what we need to do. Because if this doesn't happen before your marketing even starts, it's not really going to have a chance to be effective. Because if we don't have these processes and systems down, then we run the risk of providing a non-stellar customer experience, and you can't afford to do that as a new business.
Yes.
All of the above. Okay. I know that was a lot. And I know that a lot of these things you already know. It's just I'm reiterating those to you because you have to make those a priority. Because when we do start talking about the marketing aspects of how to keep that momentum going, if these pieces are not in place, it doesn't matter what you do from a marketing perspective, it is not going to be as successful as it should be.
Absolutely.
Does that make sense? Okay. Any questions over any of that before we now jump into the marketing stuff?
No. How long have you been doing this?
A long time.
Very good at this.
Thank you. All right. Now here's the fun part for me, and I get really excited. So if I start talking really, really fast, just like raise your hand or something and I'll slow down. But the third thing that I wanted to talk to you about today was to be able to keep that momentum going is to use a flywheel approach to marketing. Have you ever heard of the flywheel approach?
I've heard of flies and I've heard of wheels, but I don't know that I would put them together to mean a thing. No.
I don't know. I mean, they have tiny little legs. I don't think they would make the wheel.
I'm thinking of hamsters in a cage, and I'm like, why would you give the flies a wheel? That seems odd, but okay.
Yeah. So the great thing is that it's not technically, we don't have to use flies, and it's not technically a wheel, but it kind of works that way. So the flywheel method is when your website and your online marketing efforts are in sync, and they function as a flywheel to continually produce results, even when you're not in the office or paying much attention to your marketing. So this is a topic that we talk a lot about with our clients and even on this podcast, because it's one of the most effective ways for small businesses to be able to reach their ideal customers and build marketing systems that actually work. So the first step of the flywheel method is to define your ideal audience and clarify your message. And we sound like a broken record probably in every single episode when we talk about this. But if you don't do this, you are 100% wasting your time with any marketing that you can do. So you can build a stunning website, which your website is really neat, by the way. I like everything about it. So everybody needs to go there. Is it just flyinghightea.com?
Pretty simple.
Yeah, I do like it. But you can build a stunning website like most people do. You can post a reel a day. You can implement sales funnels. You can do all the things marketing that you're supposed to do. However, all of these efforts and tactics are a complete waste of time and money and all of your resources if your messaging isn't clear. Because without clear messaging, you won't be able to connect with your ideal customers. So remember at the beginning of the episode when I said that it's really important to pay attention and take note to what your best customers were telling you? This is why. You will use this information to create messaging that will attract more of those ideal customers. So before you decide things like which social media platform that you're going to use or how much money you're going to invest in Google Ads or make any other type of marketing decisions, you have to clarify your messaging. So I know I've said that a million times, but you have to clarify your messaging. So at Tree Frog, we actually use a framework that we laid out in episode 83. So Twila, I'll send you a link to that so you don't have to go back and try to find that. And then I'll add it to the show notes for everyone else listening, because I don't want this episode to be 2 hours long, because I get excited and we talk about how to clarify your message and everything that we do here as well. But basically, we use a story-based framework that defines 7 elements found in a great story that keeps your brand story cohesive, clear, and it simplifies every talking point, communication asset, and sales piece your business creates or it sends out. And you may be sitting there asking, why would I as a business want to use a story-based framework to create messaging, right? Because a lot of people look at me and they're like, you want me to create a story? That's dumb. Well, not really, because the simple answer is very few of us can sit there and we can retain lists and facts and a ton of information and all this industry knowledge that people want to throw at us. But we're 22 times more likely to remember information when it's presented in a story-like framework, because I can almost guarantee that there's some really random stories out there that you remember, that you may not remember that person's name, but you remember the story that they told because the way that they told the story, right? And this is why we suggest writing what we call marketing guidance statements before you do anything else. And again, marketing guidance statements use a story-based framework. I just described the whole, you need to do a story thing, right? And they're written in a way to position your brand and business as a trusted partner. And the process of writing these guidance statements gives you the information you need to write clear, concise, effective messaging in a story-based framework. And we actually have a free mini course on how to write your own marketing guidance statements. And it can be found at treefrogmarketing.com/marketing guiding statements. And Twila, I will send you a link after the show, and I'll also add it to the notes, because again, if I talk about it, we're going to be here forever. But what's your question though?
I'm an overachiever, and I looked at it and I watched all those episodes.
So
I just want to put,
so I don't have to send you a link.
But I just want to say to your listeners that they should go ahead and watch those and do it, because it's well worth it. It's very, very insightful. So
thank you. Wonderful. So I don't have to just keep telling you to clarify your message, because you're on
I'm
that
on
train.
The train. I'm way at the back though.
No.
But I'm on it.
No, first step is acknowledging the thing that you have to do. The first step that you have to do, anybody that is wanting to think about keeping this momentum going, is you have to define your audience and clarify your message. And again, you can find the mini course there in the show notes. And then the second step in the flywheel process, which there are 4 steps if I didn't say that already, so I'm not going to bore you for 10 different steps, is to develop a strong foundation by creating, or in your case, maybe updating your website. And this is because your website is your small business's most powerful marketing tool, and it must be created with your audience in mind. So when creating or updating your website, remember, use your marketing guidance statements as a guide that helps people solve their problems and get them to do the thing that you want to. So use your marketing statements to be able to write most of the copy for your website. Now, because we know how important it is for a small business to have an effective website, this is something that, again, like marketing guidance statements, I could talk about for hours, because it will literally change the face of your business and help you grow if you do this in the right way, because all of your other marketing efforts are going to be pointed towards your website. So if you don't have a lead generating website built in a strategic manner, you're just going to confuse people, and it's not going to do the thing that you want them to do. So just really quickly, and Twila, we can have an offline conversation about this. I want to walk you and the listeners kind of through 7 things that your website should have in order to be successful. And I know in a couple of other episodes we've talked about this, so I'm just going to kind of run down them quickly, but it's important to remember that first you need a clear message. I'm not going to beat that, dead horse all the time, but you need a clear message. Use your marketing guiding statements to drive the majority of the copy of your website. 2 is you have to have a clear header. So the most important section of your website is the header. Basically, at the very top of your homepage, or really any page from that manner, if you're going to create a landing page for any of your sales funnels that you're doing or that, you basically need to tell people exactly what you offer in a way that they can understand in 2 or 3 seconds. This way, your website visitors will immediately know if what you offer is what they're looking for. And I know that sounds really insane that you only have 2 or 3 seconds. A couple years ago, we had 5 to 8 seconds to capture people's attention, but our attention spans are much lower than they used to be. So you have 2 or 3 seconds for the person's brain to go, oh yeah, that makes sense. I either want to scroll down on the website or I don't want to. And this is why your header is the absolute most important section that there is on your website. So clear messaging and a clear header, and you're off running with the fastest horses in the races, right? That's what we want to do. And then there are just a few other things that you need to have on your website in order to create a great customer experience for the user. 1, a value proposition. To be effective, your website needs to include a value proposition, which is simply a clear list of what they'll receive when they invest in your services. What should I expect? You just kind of have to tell them that if you come in, this is the experience that you're going to have. If you order online, you're going to be able to get this type of thing. Next, we have a 3-step plan. So basically tell them in 3 steps how they can have a tremendous experience with you. Like it's basically first do this, and then you'll enjoy XYZ. And we use 3 steps because the brain can easily comprehend things in sets of 3. And if you think about it, like if your husband says, oh, I need these 3 things, when you're at the grocery, you're like, okay, got it. He throws that 4th one in there and you're like, now I have to write it down because I can only handle 3. And it's the same thing when we're talking about steps on a website. If we lay it out in 3 steps, the reader is like, oh, that's easy to do. I can totally do that, as opposed to adding more steps in there. The 5th thing is a direct call to action. You have to be straightforward and tell people what you need them to do, because if you don't, the majority of them will just be like, oh, that was great information, thanks. You have to have a call to action that says, come in, download, explore these options, review our tea of the week, like all of these types of things. You need to tell people what they need to do. And then 6th is where the authority comes in. So if you've listened to anything that we've talked about when clarifying your message, as a business, you want to be the guide of the story and not the hero, because the hero is the customer. So the customer is the hero in your story, and the business wants to be the guide because the guide helps the hero do the thing that he needs to do, right? So we're full of empathy. We're full of plans. We're helping you do this. We're pumping you up. Like, you can do this thing. We're not jumping in with authority that says, hey, you need to come and buy our tea because it's the best all over the world and you need to do it today. That's a little further down on the webpage where we put the authority. And in reality, we want to use things like testimonials to have other people tell the reader how great our business is, or our services, or our customer services, or our products, or whatever it is. We don't necessarily want to say, hey, we're the best, whatever, in wherever. We want other people to do that because they trust somebody else's word way more than they trust the business's word. So that's why we use testimonials as the authority piece. And then last but not least is pricing. And I know putting pricing on a website kind of scares a lot of people, but if you don't, you just come across as a little bit sketchy to customers, because they think that, oh, it's kind of like when you go to a restaurant and they don't have prices on the menu and you're like, that's going to be expensive, right? So the idea is that, hey, we have starting prices of this or that, or you don't have to put everything out there, but even starting prices so people understand how they should set their expectations for coming in. So if all of those things are on your website, you will set your customer up for coming in and already having an idea of what their experience should be like. So did that kind of help define a few things that need to be on your website? Even though that you have a great start, I think adding some of these things will help refine your experience for your readers.
No, it really does. Plus, you also said like 3 or 4 things that I was like, ooh, stealing that idea.
Oh yeah, steal it. Yep. This is your consultation. You steal everything.
I wasn't sure about the clear message part though. That seems...
Oh, do you want me to go back and talk about the clear message again?
I did have a question actually regarding that. So, for example, we're not just a tea shop. We have the restaurant, we have the tea bar, we sell loose leaf tea, we have the event space, we have a retail section, so we have everything you need to make a great cup of tea, except the water. Mm-hmm. So is it when going about this process and having the best website and including all of these 7 pieces, do I need to look at this from the perspective of the ideal customer for each of those areas? And then should there be like an Uber customer that I have in mind? Because I think there's probably different ideal customers for each of these different, for lack of a better term, like line extensions of being in a tea.
Twila, that is an amazing question. And we get asked that all the time. So yes, you need to create kind of like find common themes with all the different ideal audiences for all of your service lines and create overarching marketing statements. Like, this is the ideal client that we would have, and then create all of those marketing statements for that. And then create your homepage, website page with that umbrella audience in mind. Then what I would suggest, because you have very different service lines, create a homepage per se for each of your service lines, but create those marketing guidance statements for each one of those service lines. Because that way, if somebody is just interested in coming to the tea shop for tea, you're talking directly to them. But if you're talking to somebody that wants a brunch experience, for example, or they want an event experience, you're going to talk to them completely differently. So you may not have to redo all of the marketing guidance statements, because a lot of what you did for the umbrella one will transfer over. But yes, I would suggest creating what we would call the homepage for that, and then basically a homepage landing page for each of those services and audiences. Plus, which I know we're not talking about today, but then you're starting to get more SEO value from those landing pages for, say, just the tea shop, because then you can have those keywords for just the tea shop opposed to an event venue as opposed to whatever else. So you're going to be able to build your online presence as well by doing that.
And what is SEO?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Search engine optimization. And we have an episode on that I can send you as well. Yes. So what search engine optimization is it basically helps your information get found by your best customers online. Sense. So Google goes in and it looks at all of these different elements, your website, your content, online directories, just a bunch of stuff. And when somebody's searching for something that you do, Google says, okay, I think that this company is legit, and this information that they have is going to answer this person's question. So I'm going to show it in my list of search results. So that's, in a 12-second nutshell, that's what SEO is.
Search engine optimization. Okay.
I'll be sure to send that to you. Yes. And we're just going to continue to blow your mind. So hopefully by the time we get to the end of this, you won't be like zombie Twila and just be
so
like,
much
yes.
info.
Okay.
It's a Monday.
So we have 2 more steps of the flywheel, and I'm going to try to push through these fairly quickly so that your mind doesn't explode. But the third step is to create good content and a sales funnel. And by good content, I mean pieces of information that your audience would like. People want to interact with information that they want, not necessarily information you want them to know. And they want to do that on their own time. So this again goes back to understanding who your audience is, what they want, and how you can help them. And this is why creating content that helps you act as a guide and not the hero in the story is extremely important. So when you use content such as blogs or videos or downloads, even like a rewards-ish type of program, or like first time coming in deal, maybe not the rewards program itself, because that's for people that are coming back. But if you have a first time experience type of deal that you're offering, you want it to be able to pique their curiosity or provide guidance, and you'll get your audience to more willingly engage with you. However, this needs to go beyond just the sign up of a newsletter. Nobody wants to sign up for anybody's newsletter ever. It can be on your website, but that should not be your email marketing building campaign type of thing at all. The content and sales development needs to be purposeful, and it needs to help the reader want to do business with you. So again, that content would be the blogs, any kind of download. But again, that type of content, when it's created correctly, has the right information in it to where Google will index it, and they will also go, oh, okay, this is another way that I can find authority in what this business is doing, and I'm going to show it here. So content is used in multiple realms in terms of digital marketing. It's not just, oh, I created this blog so that you understand how to make this tea at home. There's other benefits for that. So questions? I know we could talk a lot about content. But...
No, I was curious about 2 words. I think interact was when I underlined for myself, because you said interact with content. You literally mean the interaction could be reading. I don't have to create a game about tea.
They want to be able, they don't want you to tell them what they need to do when. They want to be able to search something on Google or go to your website, and they want to be able to read it or view it when they want to. They don't want to have to do it in this certain instance, right? So no matter if it's 2 p.m. or 2 a.m., that content needs to be out there so people then can interact with it when they want to.
That makes sense.
On
you
their
also
own time.
use the term sales funnel. I don't know if that is.
So a sales funnel is it's basically a way, it's not technically a funnel-ish. It's a way to keep your flywheel going.
Oh.
So let's say that a sales funnel is just information that people are willing to exchange their email address for. So like, I'm sure you've done it a whole bunch of times. You're like, oh, I want this checklist that every small business owner needs to know in starting a business. So you give them your email address, and then they follow up with like 4 or 5 different emails of saying, hey, this checklist will help you do this. And then they're also talking about all the benefits of how they can help you fulfill the need of becoming the best business owner ever. So that is the idea of that sales funnel. So there may be something in your business that you can create the same way, that it's very strategic, that opens up that line of communication, that you're able to obtain their email address in exchange for that information. And then you are able to create a series of 5 strategic emails that kind of follow this storyline that we talk about in the marketing guiding statements, so that you're kind of breaking down that sales threshold for people. And if they're wanting to buy the thing that you're offering them or have an experience that you're offering them, they then will take action on it. If not, the sales funnel email just kind of dumps into that general nurturing type of monthly email that you have. So that's kind of the benefit of a sales funnel. It helps qualify your leads just a little bit more.
Thank you.
You are welcome. Okay. And now this brings us to the 4th and final step of the flywheel method, which is getting your information in front of your audience. So have you ever wondered why your social media posts maybe don't drive new business? And I don't know if that's necessarily you're in that state yet, but kind of start thinking about that, because you're so new that anything you post out there, people are like, oh, I didn't know that. Oh, I'm sharing that. Oh, right. Because you still have those avid fans. Because many small business owners think that simply updating content to their website or posting it to their social media channels will drive new business. Now, when you're new, that could potentially work for a little bit, but we're talking about how do we keep this momentum going. I wish it was that simple, but unfortunately it's not once the newness kind of wears off. So in order to get the attention of your audience, you have to get your content in front of them with little to no effort on their part, because we are all somewhat lazy when it comes to searching for things, right? I mean, our attention span went from 5 to 8 seconds now down to 2 or 3. So we have to use things like search engine optimization, which is the SEO we talked about, social media ads, Google ads, and strategic emails to attract and lead prospects to your website. So once you've built a strategic website, the easiest way to reach potential customers is to use social media advertising. To be successful, your social media ad should lead someone back to a piece of content on your website and not just take them to the main page where they have to figure out what they want to do. So you don't want to create a social media ad that says, you're talking about a problem and here's the solution and this is the thing that you want to do. It's really, really great. And then lead them to the home page and they're like, I don't know where to go, when you were specifically talking about how to brew tea at home. Does that kind of make sense?
Does. I never thought about that.
Okay. So
actually, brilliant.
Yeah. So to quickly recap, with the flywheel method, to reach your audience, you first have to clarify your message. I know. Then you're going to build or update a customer-focused website and then create content that will entice your customers to engage with you. And finally, page ads to drive people to connect or to the content that's on your website. And what that ends up doing is that you're building these pieces. So you identify your audience, and you build this website and you build this content. Then you use social media to constantly get in front of people. And the more strategic you are with that, and the more strategic you are with your content, the more it sends people to your website, and then the website sends them into your business or online or whatever it is. So that's what we call that flywheel. So it constantly moves. So once you have these foundational pieces set, you're constantly just placing that content in front of where people are, so that they see your message and then they want to engage with your content, and then it excites them to come in, and then they make a date with whoever to come in for lunch or tea or brunch or whatever it is. And you just keep doing that. But you're really, really good at that because you took the time to understand who your ideal customer was. You know what they want. And in your social media ads and your content, you're delivering what they want to them. So their brain is like, yes, I want more of that. I'm going to go in, or I'm going to do this thing. So can you kind of see how all of this works together to keep that momentum going.
And it all has a foundation in who is my customer.
And a lot of people miss that, right? Because again, we have preconceived notions of who that customer should be, as opposed to who's actually coming in the door and spending time with us. Why are they choosing to spend their money and their time with us? And if we're humble enough to step back and look at that and address that and be thankful for that, it completely changes our marketing game. Yeah. All right. So do you have any other questions about what we've talked about that I can answer for you today?
Yeah, I have a question. So definitely agree. I definitely have some preconceived notions about who my ideal customer is. I'm not sure that that is based in reality, knowing who I see walking in the door on a daily basis, which is exciting to see the same people coming back. Would you say to start this process, actually talking to them and doing that, what we talked about earlier about actually asking them directly, like, why are you here? What made you choose this? Why do you keep coming back? Maybe not so direct, but, or maybe that direct. I don't know.
Yes.
Would be the best place to start.
It absolutely is, because you still have the shiny new thing going on, right? So this momentum will keep going, and they're going to tell their friends, and they're going to do this and they're going to do that. And you do a great job of like posting on social media. So people that have already liked your pages or your accounts, they do sometimes see that. I don't know if you're doing any ads, but you might consider just doing some general ads to keep getting that information out there, or asking customers when they're there, especially your regulars, hey, would you mind just taking a selfie and posting it that you were here? It'll just keep generating some of that newness for a while you're getting your feet wet and trying to establish some of these foundational elements. You just have to remember that once you identify who your customers are, you're going to know what networks that they're playing in. And then that will help narrow down kind of where you need to be as well to be able to talk to them. So you may decide that Twitter is not something that you want to do because the majority of your audience are Facebook and Instagram users, right? Snapchat might not be a great place for you. TikTok might not be a great place for you, but Instagram and Facebook might be. So although I've met you now, TikTok might be fun. Yeah, I don't know if it'll drive a lot of business,
I think
but
it
would
might
be
be fun too. I feel there are days where I'm like, oh, I'm so old.
Yeah, well,
don't let the purple hair fool you. It's covering a lot of gray. But yeah, social media it's not my cup of tea, ironically. Tea is. But I am learning that I have to actually learn to take that medicine. It is not my favorite, but I see its value. I'm not good at it. And sometimes when I'm not good at something, my tendency is to lean into my strengths and away from the things that I'm not good at.
So that is a good and bad trait as a business owner, right? Because especially as a small business owner, because knowing that in order to be a good leader, you have to surround yourself with people that are much better than you in the areas in which you could perform, but they're better in, and then being humble enough to say, you go to it. Like, you do better than me in this, and I'm going to celebrate you every aspect, every step of the way, right? But you also have to have a little bit of knowledge to make sure that everything is running smoothly. And that's one of the reasons that we started this podcast, was to help small business owners with things like that. And social media is one of the things that we're actually working on to be able to provide, because we have a whole social media department, and they're phenomenal, and they can help small business people that want to do it themselves just avoid all of the pitfalls that they normally fall in. So stay tuned for that. We'll send you that and everybody else when it's ready. But Twila, it has been great spending time with you. And I know that we've reviewed a lot of information, and it can feel a little overwhelming at times. However, you can now feel confident that following these steps will help you identify and reach your best customers. And if you begin to do these things now, you'll be able to keep that momentum of your grand opening going. So before we sign off, we do want to remind our listeners that if you want to clarify your messaging, but aren't sure how to do it, you can do so with our How to Write Your Marketing Guiding Statements mini course. found at treefrogmarketing.com/marketing guiding statements. That's treefrogmarketing.com/guiding statements. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Priority Pursuit. And as always, please know that we're rooting for you, your small business, and your priorities. And we can't wait to chat with you again next week.